Welcome to the Life by Design podcast with your hosts, Jessilyn and Brian Persson. We support couples in achieving their wealth goals by sharing our journey of overcoming barriers to build our financial empire.
Did you want to know more about what's stopping you from building your wealth? Make sure to go to discoverlifebydesign.ca/wealth and download our guide, The 3 Mistakes That Keep High-Achieving Couples from Building Their Wealth, Freedom, and Living a Life They Love.
Today, our topic is the top 3 ways to get back your time. Everyone complains they never have enough time. They're too busy. So Brian, why is it so important to us to get back our time?
I would say peace of mind. Because if we're consistently overwhelmed with everything and we think that we never have enough time, really our minds are not in a good state. So for us, it's important to have that free time for our family, for ourselves, for the people around us, and not be consistently feeling like we're underwater.
So it's more proactive than reactive. And how does that play into wealth?
It's a very important measure of wealth. The amount of time, the amount of free time specifically that you have, because everyone's got the same 24 hours in the day, but how much of that 24 hours is free time and how much of it is time that you can do what you want with. If you can carve out more of that day to do whatever you want, then that is a sign of wealth.
Absolutely. So what is the first takeaway? It is setting boundaries, learning to say no, which was a big one for me, but to unnecessary commitments or distractions. You want to protect your time by setting clear boundaries for work, family, personal life, you name it.
Saying no, huge in this society. I don't think most people do it primarily. No. We watch people all around us that are constantly saying yes to family and to friends and to their kids, and their life is really restricted.
Yeah, and it was a hard lesson for me to learn to say no, and while I've vastly improved, I still struggle with it. Like there'll be times, our little guy will come to us and, hey, mommy, you want to go
brutal. Yeah.
play this game or something? I'm like, God, I get this little knack of guilt in my rib cage going, I so do want to play with you, but mommy has work, right? And so it's kind of like picking that, and then there's other times where, a very recent example, I'm working with an external contractor that I paid to help me with some of my speaking stuff, and they're just throwing things at me. Okay, you got to write this article, this deadline's tomorrow, you got to do this presentation, you got to do this. And I'm also working a full-time contract, and we got our real estate, and we got our kids. And I just, instead of saying no, I went into overwhelm and tried to conquer it all, and it just consumed me. Right. And then I watched it play out, didn't even know what to do with it as I watched it play out, and it impacted you and the boys and my health. Like I just lost my appetite. And it's like, wow, Jess, take time now, figure this out, because this is not good for anyone. No. And there's no reason for it. I can say no and give timelines on when I can produce certain things and respond to certain things and figure it out.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to no. So, for example, you could have said no from the beginning of that, but the contract and that with this lady was really something you needed and really something you wanted. Yeah. So you said yes out of it, not quite knowing into the future that all these particular timelines were going to collide.
Correct.
So you're a little bit a victim of circumstance. Yeah. But at the same time, like inside of that, you can micro know your situation where you can say no in particular moments, even though you said yes to like the holistic side of things. So there's different layers of it. And like the kids are a fantastic example. You can say no to kids and not have them at all and then save all your time. Or
I don't know if I call that a fantastic example because they're amazing.
Fantastic example in terms of extreme example that's very tangible to bite off, right?
Right. Can you give the audience an example when you say you could like do micro no's?
Micro no's, yeah. So that's what I was getting at with the kids. How many times a day do kids ask you for things?
All the time. And how many times do we say no?
Exactly. You're saying no all the time. Yeah. And there's lessons in that. Like why are you saying no all the time?
Yeah.
The kids are basically seeing cracks that you aren't seeing. And they are trying to manipulate those cracks by asking you all these questions, and you don't know how to react to it. So you just say no.
Right.
Yeah. But really, you somewhere else have said yes for them to get to the point of asking you that question.
Or they just have no filters and they're going to ask anyways.
Yeah. So it's tricky. No can be tricky. And you can get affected by previous yeses you said yes to, like previous things you agreed to, that are now resulting in you really wanting to say no.
It's true.
And that's why you have to be so diligent and aware of what you're agreeing to, because it might seem easy today, but that thing that you said yes to even a year ago or 2 years ago is all of a sudden coming back to you, and it's causing you to say a lot of no's where you perhaps just shouldn't have even had to have the question asked to you. Business for us was a big one. So 5 years ago, I think it was at this point, we started saying yes to all kinds of business. Like we were just trying to bite off every type of business we could, and real estate we could possibly find.
Oh yeah.
And now, now we're okay.
Yep.
We've kind of started to manage it, but it took a solid 2 years for us to clean up all that business that we said yes to.
Yep.
And get the no's into an appropriate portion, so that like we had a nice balance between yeses and no's, and we weren't like constantly underwater with our time. It took a long time for us to clean up all that stuff, and we didn't see it when we first started saying yes.
That's a great point you make, because it's kind of like a shiny object syndrome, right? We're like, oh, this is a great idea. We can make money this way, blah, blah, blah. And we're so excited. And then we would go and do it. And now we're managing 5 business ideas. And we're like, wow, how did this happen? I have 0 time. I can't even manage one. And you're absolutely a lot more successful when you can focus on one thing at a time. And so having, someone who says, yeah, I got 5 business ideas that I'm working on. I'm sitting there going, oh, but are you? Like, not one of them can be successful if you're constantly juggling 5 ideas, 5 different types of clients, 5 different sets of teams. No. It's just not going to be successful. You need to come to the fact that you manage one very successful and well. And then once it's off and launched and it's running smoothly and you've got it managed by other people, sure, bring in another idea. But that we're talking like years here. We're not talking like it's going to happen overnight or months. Like it's going to take 2 to 5 years to build a solid business. And you should focus on just that one business to make it successful. And I think in there comes like a really key point is like limiting distractions, whether it's other business ideas, whether it's distractions in your day. I know whenever we get like a hot new shiny object, you might come home from some networking event and you'll tell me like, oh, we can help people this way and this way. And now I'm just like, no, like that is not our lane. Let's stick to our lane until we've really figured everything out. But it's easy. I get it too. And it goes with like distractions. So I know when you used to have your office in the common area of our house, we've now switched. I'm there and you're down here, but I would come up whenever I was taking a break from what I'm working on and I'd ask you questions. And it'd be like,
yeah, because you were passing right through effectively my office. Yeah.
I was going to the kitchen and get a bite, right? Yeah. And you were there, quote unquote. So I would just start talking or asking questions. And I had to learn that wasn't okay, because you could be in the middle of, like, I knew when you were on a call, so I didn't distract there, but you could be in the middle of writing something or the middle of responding to something. And it was just very distracting. So we had to set boundaries. It's like, okay, we set in our calendar when we're going to chat, or we take a lunch break together and I could throw some ideas at you. But we had to limit that. And same with kids. Like we had to set clear boundaries. Like if mommy or daddy are on a call, you do not come into our office and just start asking us about Minecraft or Lego, right? And that took time, right? That didn't happen overnight. That took some weeks. And sometimes there's still reminders where it's like, we're in a call.
Yeah, again, going back to kids, they push their luck all the time.
They do.
They're always aiming for the yes. Yeah, those micro distractions are really big.
Oh, they're a beast.
Yeah, I read a study. I can't remember the exact number of minutes, but it's something like 15 to 20 minutes it takes your brain to come back onto the original track that it was on. So
Yep.
if you're working on a particular task and then someone comes in and interrupts you, you're not fully in that deep focus again and for
Yep.
at least 15 to 20 minutes. So if you're hammering out and whatever task it is, being really creative or being really productive, you really need to have no distractions. And if you can get rid of those distractions or like manage your environment properly, you will be more productive in less time.
Absolutely. And talking about being more productive, taking regular breaks and rests in between. You can't just go hard all day, all the time, right? It hurts the head, and it doesn't give you that ability to refresh and calm down and reflect. That might actually give you more time, because maybe what you were about to keep cranking out in a certain task, you might not need. You just didn't take the time to stop and breathe to be like, okay, where am I at with this? What does it look like? What's left remaining, right? So just take that space to avoid, and you'll avoid like burnout as well, and just gives you like a mental break.
On different scales again. So daily breaks. So like how is your day arranged so that you can take care of yourself and take care of your family and take care of your business all at the same time? Because you can't just sacrifice yourself for 2 weeks or a month and then like finally think you're going to take a break. Just manage your day in a way that like consistently takes care of you, and then have like larger, more freeing breaks where you maybe take a week off. I recently joined a business group, and out of the 10 people in the group, you can clearly tell who takes breaks and who does not.
Right.
Yeah. They almost don't have to tell me anything about what's happening inside of their business. You can tell by their state of mind and how frazzled they are in just sometimes regular conversations. You're just chatting about your kids, and you can clearly tell they're a little bit frazzled just in the conversation.
Yep.
And then you get into their business once I started to get to know these people. And sure enough, the people who are taking breaks, the people who are taking care of themselves are generally having the more fluid, growing businesses.
Yep.
And the people who are really frazzled and never taking breaks, they're constantly struggling in their businesses are successful, but they're constantly struggling inside of their business and seeing things that perhaps aren't there, like their business isn't growing fast enough or their business is taking too much time from them. Yes, because you're not taking care of yourself. You're not saying no to your business when it's appropriate.
And that actually lends well into our next takeaway, delegating and outsourcing, right? So delegating tasks that others can handle or outsource where possible. It frees up time for high value activities in your business and for yourself.
Yeah.
This is a big one that we really also had to learn and overcome. And I think we're getting much better. We delegate and outsource for sure now. But would you like to share kind of some of our story on that?
Oh, real estate is the easiest example. And not only for us, but I see it over and over again. Most people, when they start in real estate, they try to do it all themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. Early on, this is probably, I can think of some situations before I even had an investment, like when I had just my first real estate property for me.
Yeah.
And I would try to fix my toilet or something like that, whatever was going wrong. And I remember there was this one particular valve, and I probably had to go to Home Depot 10 times.
Gross.
to find the right valve for this stupid toilet, because I had no skills in trying to fix this particular leak. And back then it seemed expensive to hire a plumber, but I should have just hired the plumber. I would have saved so many hours of going back and forth. But here I am thinking okay, I got to keep the costs low and I got to, manage my money. Nope. I really should have managed my time and then got more into making more money.
100%. I think we've learned that lesson a few times, even with our rental properties. There will be times you can try and go do it. A day later, you come home. I'm like, how you doing? And you're like, yeah, it's not fixed. I'm going to hire someone. I'm like, oh my gosh, we just lost a day. Well, we being you and your time, but right. You really got to assess what's really worth it. If it's not your expertise, outsource it. Don't even think about, I can do it, because you got to factor in all the time it's going to take for you to learn it,
Yep.
the mistakes, because we all make mistakes when we're learning something new, right? And you assess, is that worth it? Is that making you money? Or can you outsource it for less cost and focus on what does make you money in your business, in your real estate, in your family?
Yeah. And I don't want to minimize the mental hurdle people are going to have to go through to get to that. Like it was big. It was a really big hurdle for us. And nowadays I manage rather than actually do the work.
Yep.
So if I need a plumber, I have a list of plumbers. And if one of those plumbers is not available and I have to take on a new plumber, then I will go to the property with that plumber and I will watch how he operates, and I'll build a relationship with the plumber, because eventually I can then trust him to just go to the property and know how he's going to interact with my tenants and know how he's going to fix my property. And then at that point, my time is free and I can delegate more and more responsibility to that plumber. I do the same thing with my tenants too, actually. Too many people who are starting out in real estate, they feel like they got to do everything for their tenants. I really push the boundary on like what my tenants will do for me, because most of the time they're just really happy to have like a great landlord, and for you to be just nice to them is really what they want.
Yeah.
And so they will actually end up doing things for you, like gardening or weeding or
painting their own walls sometimes.
Or painting their own walls. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah. So I try to build the relationship so that I can force delegation over into my real estate investments. Yeah,
I know when it comes around to getting your time back, one way that I watched you do it that was really impressive is, when we first started out and we're looking for a renter, one of our properties became vacant, or we got a new property and we have to fill it. And you just set viewings whenever, wherever it worked for them. But now, well, not now, but I mean, you've done it probably a year or two ago, at least, if not more. But I find you time block. So you'll book, like, say, from 11 to 1 on a Saturday, as an example. And everyone's got to fit in that time box if they want to come see it. If not, sorry, you're going to have to wait until, I don't know, maybe Monday between 6 and 7. And I find, that streamlines your time. You know exactly what you're doing. You can get there, so we can work around that in your calendar. But it also, I think, sets the precedence for the potential incoming renter tenants. Yeah, because now they're like, okay, this landlord is specific on how he does his time. I know you also have other ways they got to respond to you, but you're very particular and you instruct on what you need from them to make it work. And then they know what to expect from you.
Yeah. Yeah. I have really clear intentions with my tenants, and that saves me a heck of a lot of time.
Yeah.
So things like that, where I will very specifically book, a Saturday morning and a Monday night. Like if you can't fit into one of those places to come view the property, sorry, you're not working too hard to like get into my property. And I want someone who's going to walk over to my side and like help me out if you're going to be my tenant. It's not really the other way around. I'm not giving you a property that you can go and do whatever you want with because you're my tenant.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm very intentional, and that I think people get uncomfortable with that they may maybe look at it like forceful.
Yep.
But really, tenants actually respect that, and I find that I build better relationships with most of my tenants than most of the other real estate investors that we know.
I think we as humans need structure, schedules, boundaries, timelines. We know what to do and how to react. It's not a surprise. So of course we work better within it. But sometimes we get caught up in I want to make it work for them, and I want to be nice, and I don't want to look like the bad guy. And like that doesn't work.
No, I did that way too much at the beginning of our real estate portfolio. Way too much.
Yeah. And coming back to delegation and outsourcing, like, make sure when you do review and reflect regularly, because it may not always work. And we've known that there's times we've outsourced and, 2-3 weeks in, we realize this person just isn't a fit for what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. Let it go. Move on. It's a mistake you learn from. Don't hold on with the hope that they're going to get better. Instinctively, if they're going to work or not. Yep. And make it work for how it is, and just move on so it's not impacting your time long term, because now you're fixing what they're doing, or you're trying to teach them a different way, and maybe they're not coachable. So review and just see what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk that says that. Hire fast, fire faster.
Was it Gary? Could be.
Pretty sure, yeah. I'm pretty sure I watched something on him, and it was whoever it was the mentality is hire fast, fire faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that works across the board. Like even with my tenants, if I start to detect a problem, like I'm on them until they either come over to my side, or I have to evict them. Yeah, and that rarely happens, because as soon as they know that there's parameters that they have to abide by inside of one of my properties, they usually don't, unless which I've had, they're totally crazy. they don't go out of those parameters, and they're good once they understand them.
Yeah.
Kids are the same thing. Be careful on how airtight your parameters are, because they like we were talking earlier, they will find the holes.
They will find the loopholes, 100%. All right. So what is takeaway number 3? Find tools that work for you.
There are so many tools out there that you can use to get back your time. Anything from, we were talking about it earlier, like virtual assistants. To just software.
Oh yeah.
To not have sticky notes and endless things written on your fridge magnet board, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. Software that you can actually interact with your team, and with for you and I, we use a program called Asana, and inside of that we have like all of our tasks go into there, and so you know exactly what's happening for you. I know what's happening for me. Our contractors know exactly what's happening for them, and there's never any question about what's going on.
Yeah. And there are a lot of online tools that can automate your routine things, like email responses, calendar scheduling, social media posts. We know one of the vendors we outsource to, she uses tools to automate certain postings. So there are some incredible tools out there. You just got to do some research and figure out, what's going to work for you.
Yeah. Other tools are just mentalities, like the 80-20 rule. So write down whatever is happening in a particular task, or if you're experiencing overwhelm, write down all the things that you need to do and chop out the bottom 80% and take on the top 20%. And by that I mean, what are the most important, most productive tasks that you're going to be able to take on? That
falls in line with prioritizing your tasks. And I know I'm usually pretty good at this, and I know for a while, and sometimes you struggle with it. And I remember I'd come up and I could see your frazzle, when someone's spinning, and you're like, I just have so much on my plate. And so I'd be like, okay, walk me through it. And I'd literally take a sticky note or something, and I'd take each task that you felt overwhelmed with, and I'd just pare it down and be like, okay, when is this due? What's the priority of it? What does it look like in terms of amount of work? And then I'd literally be like a puzzle piece. Okay, this is what you work on. These can happen tomorrow. This can happen next week. And you just be like, like peaceful now. It's like, oh, I didn't see it that way. But yeah, if you can, like you said, prioritize it and then just drop the bottom 80, if they're not a priority, just work on, then you're freeing up your time and your space on how you're working with things.
Other people are fantastic tools to help you out. Buy more time back, like whether that's actually delegation, like to as an employee or as a virtual assistant or another person to just help you reflect, because sometimes the worst place that you can make decisions and try to be efficient in is your own head.
Yes, so true.
And when you're in your own head, you just get stuck there, and you start to repeat the same patterns over and over again. And that's why, like, I come to you. To like say, hey, here are all the things I'm challenged by. You tell me what you see is the most important, because right now I am looking at them all as like burning dumpster fires.
You do. You do. And to me, it's easy because I'm not in it per se. Like I don't even know.
You're not in my head. Yeah.
I don't even know the history of half of your tasks. So to me, it's like, keep it factual, right? I'm taking out all the emotion, all the baggage, all the extra thoughts and being like, all right, what's the task? Who owns it? What's the priority? And when's it due? Then we'll figure out what this is going to look like. Another good tool to use is to streamline your meetings. I know this is a great one I use in my project management, right? So we all have meetings after endless meetings. And it gets to a point where it's like, well, you can't get anything done if you're constantly running from meeting to meeting. And we don't need all these meetings. Just book them when they're necessary and keep them concise with clear agendas and goals. And I find I'll go in with my project schedule, for example, when I'm doing project management with my team, and I'll book 30 minutes. And odds are I'm out in 10 to 15. Mm-hmm. And I've had people actually compliment me on it and be like, wow, like you're in it. I'm like, guys, I don't want to take your time. I know we all have a lot to do. I just need to know, okay, where are we on these tasks? Where is there misses? Where can I help remove the hurdles? Where do we need to align? Who do we need to talk to? Yep. And we'll go through all of them. And of course, if there's issues, we use the 30 minutes and we'll talk through them. But if it's pretty just kind of clear cut, like I need a % complete and I need new dates, why? Why do I need to take 30 minutes when it's going to only need 5 minutes of your time? And I find people really appreciate that you're respecting their time and you understand that they have things to do too, but it also works for you, right? You're getting back 15 minutes of a 30-minute call that was booked, or an hour, or however long that looks.
You just described another tool, and that's called Parkinson's Law, which is that any task expands into the space or contracts into the space given to it. So if you only give the task 15 minutes or your meeting 15 minutes, then you got to get everything done in 15 minutes. If you give the meeting an hour, you're going to get the same thing done in that hour that you could have got done in 15 minutes. Yeah. Elon Musk is an absolute monster with that. He's vicious with his meetings and keeping them tight and effective. And I mean, obviously it shows. He's a billionaire.
Yeah, I love it. I know I'm still in meetings with some of my project management stuff, and some of it's external, right? I'm working with external vendors, and I'll be on a meeting and I'm watching the clock now, right? Going, okay, I got another meeting right at the top of the hour, and it's 5 minutes after the top of the hour, and I'm going like, sometimes people schedule and they don't even stick to the scheduled meeting they have, and they're going on and on. And I mean, I'll just hop in and say I got to run, but it's kind of like, at what point do you not think that firstly, everyone else on that call might have other meetings or things they need to run to, right? So just keep it clear, concise, and get to the point in your meetings, and only book it because there's things you need to sort out. And I do believe there are meetings that are necessary. A lot of people are like, well, do we need to meet? I'm like, yeah, actually, because it gives a space, especially when it's in a team environment, for everyone to hear everything. So then if they have questions, you get it done and in and out in 30 minutes. And I explained this to one of the managers last week when she was asking if her team needs to be there. I said, listen, your team can be there for 30 minutes, or if they're not, then the rest of this team is going to be sending them emails, questions, so is management. I said, and they're going to get ad hoc emails that they're going to have to respond to, possibly ad hoc meetings because they did. But if they come 30 minutes in and out, you speak to it, they probably won't be bothered for the rest of the week as well. She's like, oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's, does the conversation serve you?
Yeah.
Does the meeting serve you? And if it doesn't, then don't go. Or minimize your time inside of that. And I think, again, that not trying to minimize the hurdle of this who are in the corporate world, because everyone wants to be nice. No one wants to be that jerk that like tries to end the meeting, sooner than anyone else thinks it should be ended. But at the same time, does it really, really need to be that long? I do, again, going back to tenants, I try to keep anything I do in a tenant's house very, very tight. Because I know that they don't want me there, like generally.
Yeah,
they don't want someone
home.
Exactly. They don't want someone fixing their plumbing for 4 or 5 hours inside of their house. If I can get it done in half an hour, then me and that plumber are in and out in half an hour.
Yeah.
And the tenant is more respectful of me because of that. And I have saved a lot of my time. Sometimes I pay the plumber the same amount as if he was there for 4 hours, but he fixed the problem, right?
Yep.
And that's the goal, is that we can keep things tight and we can keep things moving, and it doesn't impact my tenants and doesn't impact me.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, I'm going to roll into recapping our takeaways from today. First one is to set boundaries. Protect your time by creating clear boundaries for work, family, and personal life. Takeaway 2, delegate tasks that others can handle and outsource where possible. This frees up time for high-value activities. And our third takeaway is find tools that work for you. Our next topic is going to be on 3 ways we won in real estate. Don't forget to go to discoverlifebydesign.ca/wealth and download the 3 mistakes that keep high-achieving couples from building their wealth, freedom, and living a life they love.
We release podcasts every 2 weeks, so be sure to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app to journey with us and create your life by design.
Thanks for listening to the Life by Design podcast with your hosts, Jessilyn and Brian.